Welcome to the Sisters in Loss podcast, a faith-based podcast that spotlights Black women that replace silence with storytelling around pregnancy and infant loss and infertility. Black women experience miscarriage and stillbirth 4 to 5 times more likely than white women in the United States, according to the CDC and NIH. Whether you've experienced a miscarriage, infant loss, or stillbirth, are trying to conceive, or have an infertility diagnosis, you will learn about resources and strategies to heal, gain clarity, peace, and hope, and find an empowering path forward after loss. I'm your host, Erica M. Freeman, and you'll hear me interview other sisters in loss from around the world who have healed from such a painful and traumatic experience by sharing their testimonies and stories to inspire and help others turn their pain into their purpose. Storytelling is powerful. Storytelling is activism. Storytelling is healing. Now let's get started. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to episode 447 of the Sisters in Laws podcast. I'm your host, Erica M. Freeman, or Erica Michelle. I want you all to take a deep breath with me now. Take a deep breath in. Blow it out. Let's do it once more. Take a deep breath in and blow it out. Today is July 31st, 2026, when I'm recording this podcast, but this will be published on August the 5th, 2026. And this weekend, on August the 2nd, it will make 9 years of the Sisters in Laws podcast. 9 years, guys. Crazy. When I hit the record button for the first time in August 2017, I was just a mother really searching for her village. I was navigating my own profound grief. And the loudest thing in the room wasn't my crying, it was the silence. Nobody was talking about Black women experiencing pregnancy and infant loss in podcast form. We were expected to put on that strong Black woman cape, swallow our tears, and just keep moving. I started this podcast because I refused to heal in silence anymore. And I hoped maybe there were a few other sisters out there who felt the same way. If you had told that Erica from 9 years ago that we'd be sitting here at episode 447, 447, I don't know if she would have believed you. Do you know what 447 episodes means? It means that that's 447 times a Black woman has bravely sat at a microphone and opened up her wounded heart to the world. It means 447 times the silence was broken. It also means 447 reminders that your baby existed, that your pain is real, and that you are not crazy. Over these last 9 years, I've watched this podcast grow from a little small audio show into a global movement. We have cried together. We have raged against a medical system that has failed us. We have held space for babies who've left too soon. And we have celebrated the rainbow babies that brought back light to our eyes. We have proved a truth that has become my life's mantra. It takes a village to raise a child, but it takes a village to heal a mother. And over these last 3,285 days, we have built that village. Sitting in the host chair for these last 9 years changes you. Listening to hundreds of stories has changed me. Over the years, I've started to notice patterns and how we survive. I've noticed the sister who rushed back to the work week after her loss just to stay busy. I noticed the mama who hid her tears so her husband wouldn't be sad. I noticed the women who were so deeply angry at God but were afraid to say it out loud. I realized that because society doesn't give us a safe space to grieve, we invent our own armor. And then that realization, birthed directly from the stories of this very podcast, is what led me to write my new book, Never Healing Alone, which comes out in April 2027. Everything that I've poured into this book, especially as we go and learn more about the five healing archetypes, the silent sympathizer, the reluctant resilient, the hopeful healer, the ancestral anchor, and the compassionate catalyst came from listening to you. You all as storytellers, as wounded healers coming on this show week after week gave me a place to birth these five healing archetypes. So this book is a culmination of episode 1 through episode 447. It is 9 years of our collective tears, our collective rage, and our collective healing bound together in one place that so that no Black woman has to guess how to heal again. One thing that I've realized for this anniversary, I wanted to just do a little something different. I wanted to honor the journey by walking you through the themes that really have defined our healing journey over this last 9 years. And I want to hold up a mirror to the ways we've learned to survive. So I want to talk about this strong Black woman archetype or trope that has been handed on us and pushed on us, and the reason why we show up with these superwoman capes. And in my book, I go into more detail about how I not only learned it from girlhood, but how it was ingrained in me from womanhood through some books and in a lot of images and media. But the one archetype that mimics the strong Black woman, so that we go from being these known stereotypes and tropes to a healing archetype, is called the reluctant resilient. This woman is the one who embodies the strong Black woman archetype or trope. She's the one who's told she's handling it so well because she hasn't missed a beat. She's back at work after her losses. She's caring for everyone. She's performing strength because she believes her very survival depends on it. I know her because for a time I was her. If you go back to my earlier episodes of this podcast, I talked about the pressure of feeling to bounce back or to move forward in my grief. But what I've learned and what so many of your stories have confirmed is that resilience is reluctant. We don't want to we don't want to be this strong when we feel we have to be. The truth is that um that armor that we put on ourselves is exhausting and it keeps us from the very care we need. In the book, Never Healing Alone, I use the example of Annalise Keating from How to Get Away with Murder as an example. Annalise spent a decade running from her loss, burying it under her work and her wine. But when she finally hit a point where that armor shattered, everything around her crumbled. And her journey really reminds us that it is never too late to let yourself be held. And from Annalise's reflection in How to Get Away with Murder, I think about a lot of my journey leading up into um starting the podcast. I got the idea of having a podcast back in probably 2016 because I started to look into more podcasts more frequently. But then I had an ancestral experience during a Santeria experience through Airbnb on a vacation to Cuba. I was in Havana at the time, and the Yoruba priestess there told me that I was going to birth something. And that was in May of 2017, and this podcast launched in August of 2017. And I think about as Black women how we don't grieve in a vacuum. And a lot of the unspoken language that we have, the unspoken energy that we have, sometimes those unspoken losses that we carry from our mothers, from our grandmothers, um, having the knowledge of where our ancestors, dreams and desires and things are literally buried, but sometimes they can be birthed in us, and sometimes that we can continue on that ancestral lineage. But many times we have to dig back deep into us on what that is. And I feel like from that Santeria experience in Cuba, where we learned about Yoruba priestess and we learned about how, Nigerians were brought to Cuba and how in order for them to practice Santeria, that they had to take on um, a lot of the saints that are in Catholicism, and a lot of those saints were birthed in how this spiritual religion was manifested. So they were praying to the saints, but they really were praying and honoring these orishas. And if you all know anything about just Yoruba culture, how Yoruba religion was very nomadic, and how it crossed boundaries. So you may find this Yoruba religion not only in South America, in the Caribbean, but obviously it hails from West Africa, not necessarily just Nigeria, but it can go on to Benin, to Togo, to Ghana, to the Congo, to Senegal. Like it, Yoruba goes all the way around through a lot of these different West African cultures and villages just because of how nomadic the religion was, the spiritual practice was. But understanding that I could see God in other ways, and it did not have to be practiced in a traditional Protestant way, and that I felt God move through that Yoruba priestess in May and telling me that I'm birthing something, and that she didn't know that I physically couldn't carry any more children, but she didn't know that I had this podcast on my heart, that I feel like she felt that connection to me in her bones, and internally it made me feel it in my bones, in the way the drums were drummed during that presentation, in the way that all of the orishas that were taken on by these different saints were praising and honoring their gods. I felt this draw from ritual, from tradition, from generational wisdom. And I knew then that I was this ancestral anchor. An ancestral anchor is my way of moving from the harmful trope of a magical Black woman to really being anchored in how we may draw our strength from our ancestors, how we may find comfort in some of those spiritual practices. And we feel a deep responsibility to heal, not just for ourselves, but for our entire generation behind us. Many of us are ancestral anchors, but this can also be a very heavy burden to carry. I think about that a lot of us ancestral anchors who may feel this archetype, that we must heal in some type of dignified way or spiritual way. And we may suppress a lot of our mess, a lot of the injustice, a lot of the trauma that we may experience, and feel like we have to unhold the legacy and of our family's strength, the secrets that were buried, the dreams that were deferred, right? The trauma that our family experienced internal to us, directly, but also external to us directly or indirectly, right? So I know I've shared in one episode around faith that how I wrestled with myself. Like, how do we honor the woman who came before us without being trapped by the same silences that we were forced to endure? The ancestral anchor really can learn to be the link in the chain without carrying that weight as a part of their healing journey. I'm not going to go through all of my healing archetypes, but I think the one that sits the most with me and the one that I hope many of us transform into is the one that transforms into action. And this is the compassionate catalyst, where it's where I think I sit currently, but I also feel like I embody all of these healing archetypes. Um, the compassionate catalyst is the one who moves from the harmful trope of the mammy to being compassionate and being a catalyst for this life's work. This is the woman who says, I will not let anyone walk this path alone. She is the one who starts a support group. She shares her story on a podcast. She volunteers. She advocates for policy change. Does this sound like you? Because this is me. She turns her pain into purpose, so vast, so it can hold others people's pains. So this podcast, this community, the doula program, any training that I've done, any educational programs that I've done, it was all born from this. It was all born from this movement. So, when I attended the Black Maternal Health Roundtable at the White House with Vice President Kamala Harris, it really wasn't just my story I was carrying into that room, it was all of yours. But as a catalyst, one of the greatest challenges is learning to rest, learning that you're worthy of care, even when you're not producing or serving. Um, a compassionate catalyst must learn to receive the same feeling so she freely gives. So, all of these archetypes, all five of them, are not boxes, they're mirrors. They are themes that have woven through the 9 years of storytelling on this podcast. So, you may see yourself in one of them or in all of them. And that is the beauty of multidimensional healing and becoming a multidimensional griever and healer. So, as we celebrate 9 years, I really want to just say thank you. Thank you to every single guest who's ever graced this show. Your bravery has saved lives. You gave another mother the vocabulary of her pain. And to the listener, to the mama who's listening to this in her car right now before she walks into the work, to the mama listening in the dark at 2 a.m. because the house is quiet and the grief is too loud. I see you, sis. Your baby is remembered here. Thank you for trusting me to be in your ears for the last 9 years. Thank you for letting me hold your hand through the hardest season of your life. We are retiring the Strong Black Woman Cape together. So how are we celebrating 9 years? By continuing the work. The work continues. So if you've been rocking with me for the last 9 years, even if this is your first episode, I have a favor to ask you. I want you to find your healing archetype. So go to the show notes or go to the link in my Instagram bio and take the free healing archetypes quiz. Find out how you are surviving right now, and then grab your copy of Never Healing Alone to get your roadmap to true healing when the pre-order links drops. The easiest way to know about all of these things is to just join my mailing list. Go to sistersinloss.com/newsletter, join my mailing list, and let's keep building this village. Please share this episode with a sister who needs to know that she's not alone. Here's to 9 years of Sisters in Loss. Here's to breaking the silence. And here is to never healing alone. I love y'all. I'll talk to you all next week. Thank you for listening to today's episode. For show notes, go to sistersinloss.com. To stay connected with us and join the Sisters in Loss community and receive my weekly newsletter, please go to sistersinloss.com/newsletter. That is sistersinloss.com/newsletter. Please rate and review this episode, and I will talk to you next week.